And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thomson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
That's right. It's Big John McCarthy with the big T for Tennessee. That's right. You wish you were here. It's not Texas. This is not Texas. It's Tennessee. What's up, my man?
Tennessee's like a third world country these days, buddy.
This is true. This is true. Those most of
What's
us.
going on, buddy? What's going on, man? Hey, as everyone knows, I'm leaving today to Riyadh, and
going to Riyadh.
This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun.
Flying in.
I'm pretty excited. This is like
it's a long trip.
Yes, it is a long trip. We got a long flight into Turkey, and then we got another 4.5 hours from Turkey to there. I'll be working with my.
You'll be working with me, you dummy.
Yes, I will be working with you.
That's right. You'll be working with me. That's all you need to know.
That's all we need to know. And with my other co-host, Amanda Guetta.
Oh, that's right. Our number one fan.
Yes, our listener, Amanda. So
our number one listener. That's
right. I'm pretty pumped about this week's fight card. I mean, it's going to be fun. I know we've had a couple people drop off on the fight card for the PFL. But then on top of that, though, look,
happens.
There's a lot of excitement going on. You know, we're going to tighten it up, let these guys get out there and show what they can do. So I'm excited for the PFL versus Bellator fight card. And then on top of it, I mean, just exploring a new country. It's going to be great. I mean, I believe, from what I understand, I was texting back and forth with Habib and Islam. It sounds like they might be out there. Maybe not going to the fights because of some other engagements they have, but it sounds like they might be out there to have some coffee and get some. So hopefully get a chance to see the old boys, the old crew back together. So we will see, but it'll be fun. Where do you want to start, John?
I want to start with congratulations. I think congratulations are in order. I think the UFC did a good thing in that they put the man, the myth, the legend, a guy that has been there from the very beginning. And you look at, talk about pioneers of the sport, and he's in the pioneer edition, pioneer wing of the Hall of Fame going in. But he could have been in the modern age because look, this is a guy that fought, well into, all of the, the hundreds of the UFC. He started out facing in the UFC Vitor Belfort, but Wanderlei Silva is put into the UFC Hall of Fame, and that is absolutely something that should have been done. A lot of people would look and say, well, surprised because of the Pride run. No, the UFC owns Pride. They own that whole thing. He was remarkable when he was in Pride. He was still just crazy tough and absolutely a berserker as a fighter when he came to the UFC again after the Pride deal. And congratulations to the Axe Murderer. I told you how the nickname came about, didn't
you
I?
Did, but you did. I forgot though, but I do remember it had something to do with the beginning portions of the UFC owners. They kind of had this little tip back. He looks like an axe murderer is what kind of.
No, it was they had gotten John Peretti was the matchmaker at that time. John Peretti had started Extreme Fighting Battlecade, and he was a competition for the UFC in the beginning, and then that kind of folded, and he ended up being brought in as the matchmaker when they got mad at Art Davie, who started the UFC. So we were in Brazil, and Vitor Belfort was supposed to fight Jerry Bolander, and Jerry Bolander pulled out because he hurt his knee, and Frank Shamrock was facing John Lober. And so they bring in Wanderlei to fight Vitor Belfort. And Vitor Belfort did not want to fight him. Did not want to fight him. He's sitting there saying, let me fight Frank Shamrock. I'll fight, I don't want to fight another Brazilian is what he's saying. And basically, John Peretti just, looks at everyone and says, of course he doesn't want to goddamn face him. He's a fucking axe murderer. Who wants to face an axe murderer?
Oh, man.
That's how it came about.
It all makes sense now because when you watch Vitor step into that cage and fight Wanderlei in that fight, he fought scared. It was like
I can tell you stories, my man, you would not believe. Mm-hmm. I actually hit Vitor before that fight. Because he was a mess. He did not want to fight him until it was like the only thing I could think of was, hey man, and I whacked him and I said, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Right. And I was shocked at the way he actually did handle himself when he did go out there, because you could tell he did not want to be there. But once the fight started, he was just like, okay, I'm just going to, let me just wait. and try to figure out a way to, and all of a sudden he exploded and it was over, and he was acting like that's the way it was supposed to be. And this is what happens in fighting.
This is true. This is true. Look, one of my first memories of Wanderlei, outside of just watching him in the Pride fights, was watching the video of him choke out Crazy Horse in the back in the triangle.
In the back. Right.
Yeah, he attacked Wanderlei, and Wanderlei just put him into a triangle and just choked him unconscious.
Well, hold on, that wasn't Wanderlei.
Who was it?
That was Wanderlei's jiu-jitsu coach. He actually, Charles.
Yes.
Crazy Horse hit Wanderlei and knocked him out. He sucker punched him. Wanderlei got in his face, and you know how
it's been that
crazy
long.
Charles was.
It's been that long. Like all I can think about is this.
And he took a step back and crack. And Wanderlei was not expecting it, and he goes down, and that's when the whole thing
commotion went on.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I was thinking. Man, it's been so long since I've seen that, but yeah, that's the memory that I have of them, is the Crazy Horse and the Wanderlei altercation. But I thought it was Wanderlei who put the triangle on him and choked him out. Are you sure, John?
Nope. I'm positive, dude. That was his coach.
Dave, look that up.
Put him unconscious.
Crazy Horse and Wanderlei. I swear I thought it was Wanderlei because he was on the bottom.
Yeah, I want to say it's Marcelo Alonso, I believe.
No, it wouldn't be a fight, Dave.
Oh,
it was a fight in the back locker room. It was Wanderlei versus Crazy Horse.
Put Pride fight backstage. Crazy Horse Bennett.
Oh, here we go.
Or Charles Bennett.
I thought it was him.
It'll show it. Cristiano Marcelo.
There you go.
It is.
Yes, he chokes him out.
How come I can't see it?
This
is not right. It's all white for me.
Yeah, it was all white for me too.
There we go. Okay. I can see it.
What the heck's going on here? I'm trying to.
Jeez.
And that is because of he had the little altercation with Wanderlei. Yeah. And I don't want to say he knocked Wanderlei out, but he hit him and put him down because he wasn't expecting it.
This is in the back. They're all getting warmed up. They get caught up into the curtains there.
Yeah.
I'll go more towards the end.
More towards the end?
Yeah, right around there. Yeah, it's probably like right about there.
It's just Bruce buffering right now.
Man, it's freaking that Walmart Wi-Fi you have in Austin. The liberals must have got a hold of it and put some regulations on it.
Oh, love that.
Trying to get there you go.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Jeez, I'm trying to remember. Let him go, dude. Poor guy, he's out. Damn.
He's out.
Oh man, what a mess. What a mess.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I remember the altercation between them, and then I remember Baroni got into it too with them and Mark Coleman. They all got into it with the shootbox guys.
It was shootbox against the world, man. It really was. It was a great time.
But I guess to touch more on his career, look, he was probably one of the most feared guys in the sport, especially during that Pride era. And he had one of the most intense stare downs, probably the most scariest stare downs, but he was so fun to watch. His little rolling of the wrist.
Yep.
Just
everything he did.
Everything he did was very it engaged the fans. It got them excited for his fight. From the stare down to the rolling of the wrist, the way he kind of hunched over and came out aggressive with his kicks, just blitzed you.
And he just brawled.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Technically, the punches he threw and stuff, not technically the way you want people to throw straight punches. He would plant his feet, bite down, and just wing shots. But really, if you're going to go with what was his most dangerous weapon, his knees, his clinch in a Muay Thai plum clinch and his knees, man, he was devastating.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the most feared fighters ever, just step foot in the cage, inside the ring, all of those things. When I look at him though, John, let me ask you how has the sport changed? Because it seems like Pride had just the level of excitement of fights in Pride. It's never been matched. I mean, you get a couple of one-offs, but they had cards that were stacked with just nasty, amazing fights.
Because it was also, I want you, when you go and you think about it, go and, look at most of the Prides when it really started going, in the beginning, they papered, when we talk about papering seats, promoters give away tickets, and trust me, they give away tens of thousands of tickets at times to try to fill an arena so it looks good, and they know they're not going to make the money off of the purchase of the seats. But Pride in the beginning, they did that, and that's a normal thing for a lot of promotions. But when they were strong, not only did they have the best heavyweight lineup, because that was really what was the thing. They had all the real top heavyweights at the time kind of fighting in Pride. When I say top guys, Mark Kerr came to the UFC and he wins the heavyweight tournament, and then he basically goes to Pride, and you had this happening. Mark Coleman is the first super fight champion, beating Dan Severn at UFC 12, and he ends up, losing a couple, but he goes to Pride, and then he wins the Pride, tournament, Grand Prix tournament. But it was how many people they had, they sold out a stadium of 91,000 people, if you remember. 91,000 people, Josh.
Yeah.
So the country of Japan was absolutely giddy about Pride. They loved Pride. They were proud of it. It was their fight organization, and they backed it completely. It was like a little bit behind baseball, I'll say.
Yeah.
That's about it. And then it was not only that Japan was that way, the US really took hold of watching Pride based upon a lot of American fighters facing Brazilian fighters, Japanese fighters. They made it a spectacle, and that was the difference of what they did. Their production, when they, had entrances and the whole thing, Lenny Hart, God bless her. She's, just unbelievable as far as that scream that she had, that it could pierce your eardrums. Okay. You could actually start to bleed from the ears off of listening to her at times, but it was remarkable because it was so individualized and so distinct that you were listening to Pride when she started barking out those names. And then the walkouts that they did at time, all the fighters coming out at once and being on the stage and the fireworks going off and the big thing. Their production was bar none the best that I've ever seen.
Absolutely. When I fought over in Pride for Bushido, and then later on fought for Dream, which was basically very much the same promotion, just done with smaller guys. The production, the walkout ceremonies where they bring out all the fighters, that was done before the first fight. Normally the first fight didn't get an opportunity to walk out. And so then, but then they always had some sort of rain falling, and then either lightning or thunder behind with the noise. And then they had sometimes real snow that fell.
No.
Yeah.
They did that with Fedor in Vegas. Yeah. When Fedor first fought in Vegas, and you look and you go, they didn't want to put plastic down. So they actually had shaved ice and snow coming down when he walked. It's like, and that's what I'm talking about.
Just insane. Their production value was amazing. And that's when the UFC bought them, they really just bought the library. That was the biggest thing that they could have bought from them. If you guys have an opportunity, go back and view all their fights, especially Wanderlei's fights. His fight with Mirko, his fights with all these top guys, man.
Mark Hunt.
Just,
his fights with Rampage. Yeah, holy shit.
Just insane. Yeah, definitely his fights with Rampage. He had something about him that was just so aggressive, so intense. And you just didn't know what he was going to do. Knee your head off, take your head off with loopy right hook, left hook, caveman style. He was good at getting up off the bottom. He was good at stuffing takedowns. He would even, like when he fought Guy Metzger, he'd even headbutt you. There was just things in there that he would do that you could tell that he was a fighter. He was a fighter through and through. And when the UFC bought this, and this is when people look at his UFC career and they're like, oh, why is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
Yeah, they bought it. They put him in the totality of him being what he's given to the sport. I'm sorry, but he's got so many fights. I could go back and go, man, I wish we had fighters like that these days. And we don't. That's what originally my question was. We're lacking that. I feel like we get it sometimes from the female fighters. We'll get it from the men fighters as well. But like, they seem like every fight on Pride, and I know it wasn't every fight. I'm exaggerating here, but it seemed like they were always a Weili and Joanna Jędrzejczyk type fight. it was a stand and trade and get after it banger. And, you have those moments in those fights now, but they're few and far between. You go back and you watch the old Pride fights, it seemed like you had 2 or 3 a card that were that way.
Yeah.
And then when you got into the lighter weights too, with Gomi, with Joaquim Hansen, and when when all the, when some of the guys that were there, man, they were just such great fight. Buscape and all those guys, Kawajiri, during that era of their time, they would just throw down. Joaquim Hansen was probably one of my favorite fighters to watch. Skinny little twig, but man, that guy could fucking fight. He could fight.
The one thing I want to say, because it's true, like Wanderlei at the end of his career with the UFC had some hard times and some harsh words, and you really gotta look at the UFC and say, hey, way to go. Yes, he said some things that were not flattering and that probably weren't true, but you look past it and you said this is about great fighters, and great fighters make mistakes with some of the things they can say, and they put them in there, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Well, I mean, let's talk about like Frank Shamrock. They reached out, and if you guys don't know, Lorenzo Fertitta, Dana White, they hate Frank Shamrock.
Hate him.
It's like they are disgusted with him. They don't ever want to do
tell
business
you the
with
stories
him.
why.
They never want to do business with him. But they even extended an olive branch and said, hey, if we're going to have a true Hall of Fame, we need to incorporate people that even we don't like.
We would like to put you into it.
And he turned him down. Now, they may extend that olive branch again later on as he gets a little bit older.
Why?
I would.
I'm being honest. When you look and you go, and this is the problem. This is the game. And I love Frank, and I'm friends with Frank. And I was upset when he didn't take it. I said, you should have taken that. I go, you need to be there. You deserve to be there. And they offered it to you, and your fucking stubbornness and your fucking ego and pride are telling you no. I'm mad at you. There's nothing to be mad at with them. You didn't work for them. He really didn't. When he fought, it was a different organization. But you look and you go, if you're the UFC, hey, I've offered this to you. You turned me down. Why am I coming back to you?
Yeah.
Because now Frank is, sometimes coming out on Twitter or Instagram saying, seems like I'm not there.
Yeah.
That's because you told him no.
Yeah. It seemed like a little bit of a jab, not a little bit of a jab. It was a jab. And I think they should, as time rolls on, they should extend that olive branch because John, as we get older, we start not letting the things that happen in our past get to us anymore. We start kind of trying to make it ease with our demons. Better. And so I'm hoping at a later time. Look, I've had face-to-face conversations with Frank Shamrock, and there's no secret that him and I don't like each other. But to say that I don't respect him as a fighter,
and this is the guy that you used to train with.
I enjoyed training with him. He was fantastic to train with. I hated when he would get me in chokes and I would tap and he wouldn't let go. He was an asshole that way. But it also made me a better fighter.
Why did you not just fucking nail him in the nuts?
I should have. That guy hurt me more than anybody in my whole gym.
I'd have fucking grabbed hold. I'd have put my hand. I'd have fucking done Gary Goodrich versus the Pedro. Reach in and squeeze, baby.
He was a nasty SOB, man.
You better hope I go out before my grip fucking
He
loses.
was a nasty son of a bitch, bro, inside the gym. And at the time when I was training with him, he was still fighting. He fought John Lober. He fought, Tito. That was the time that I was there.
His first fight against John Lober in the Super Brawl. Holy shit. Look at where we're going.
I know. We're just going on into the history, but
all right, we're
going to get off of this, but look, it really just comes down to, I hope that they do extend out another olive branch to him later on down the line, maybe in another 5 years or so.
I hope they do.
This is it. We want to make sure that the UFC Hall of Fame or the Hall of Fame in general incorporates all the top level guys that help bring the sport to the highest level. So, but Wanderlei, congratulations. Nothing but the best. And excited to see you in the Hall of Fame, buddy.
Josh, this past weekend was 7 years since your last fight. How does that feel?
7 years. I mean, who knows? We never know. It might not be my last fight. You never know.
Well, here we go. Here we go.
You never know, John. You never know. You never know. Don't ever say never. No.
This is like, you never know how stupid someone can be.
This is true. This is true. I mean, I've proven I can be pretty stupid, but this might be probably the all-time stupidest if I was to actually take another fight. But look, I'm actually not opposed to it. I'm actually not opposed to it. Look, Dawn, I'm also what it is right now is I got through the stem cell treatments over at CPI. I'm feeling a little bit better, but I haven't been able to train yet. And I'm supposed to start training here in about 2 weeks. And I want to get back into running. And I can tell you right now that I played some basketball the other day with my son and some other kids in the community. And about 20 minutes in, I was breathing real heavy. And so I know when I get back, and I'm able to go train and I'm able to go run and do things, I think after about a week, I'm gonna be like, yeah, fighting's not really for me anymore. Because
well, hold on, we were just on a call and Randy Couture was on that call, and all of a sudden we were talking about your guys coming back and fighting and stuff, and he goes, I don't think you want to see a 60-year-old division. I go, no, they definitely don't want to see a 60-year-old division. Stop.
Yes. Because who was it? I think was it Dan Hardy that's hit me up and goes, hey, when are you coming back? And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about, man? Why are you trying to do that to me? But hey, like I said, money talks. You show me a good payday, we might have a conversation, but it'd be a lot of things to work out. I'm not opposed to it. Like I said, I've had the itch for the bare knuckle. I don't know why, John.
I know
something about the bare knuckle really kind of turns me on and gives me a hard on.
It's your jawline.
Yeah, it is my jawline.
That's what it is.
It is.
It's your jawline.
It is. So
that thing matches up well with a fucking bare fist.
I grew up fighting a lot in the streets.
So did I. But that doesn't change.
I guess
45.
Yeah, I know. Look,
45. I don't even think about fighting.
But you're also 80, so I get why.
Dude.
But
I'll tell you what, man.
Look, if you were to, I'm trying to think I wouldn't fight like an Eddie. I wouldn't fight a Chad Mendes. Those guys are still young.
Oh,
are they even 40 yet? Is Eddie even 40? I think he's like 38.
Eddie's
39.
right at 39, I think.
Yeah, 5 years is a lot. I mean,
yeah.
Being in your prime is, a year or two is a lot. So, can you imagine what 5 years, away from the sport completely was like, man? Anyways. Yeah, Eddie's how old?
40.
Yeah, 40.
Oh, he's 40 now.
I'll be 46 this year. Jeez, guys.
That's right. Look at you're actually telling the truth.
I still look good, though. Let's got this challenge. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to jump right into the UFC Fight Night. What is it, 37?
Mexico.
87? What is this?
UFC Mexico City.
Mexico.
Oh, Mexico, 237 Fight Night. Then right after that, we're going to talk Bellator and Bellator PFL and the Clash of the Champions and some changes to the card coming up in Fight Week. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to cover the main event, Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval. John?
Man, I'll tell you what, it's a great main event if you're looking for, especially in Mexico, especially when you're looking at, Brandon Moreno and how he's a superstar there. They love him. And this is a different opponent. Brandon Royval took, this on and stepped up to take this fight after Brandon's opponent pulled out. And I'll tell you what, it didn't get any easier. Brandon Royval, obviously, he just fought for the flyweight championship, wasn't able to get it done against Pantoja, but dude, he's got skills everywhere. And he, technically, you look at the way he fights, he is a problem for anyone. They have fought in the past. Obviously, it's a rematch. There was the kind of injury to the shoulder thing that kind of happened with Royval and stuff, but it wasn't why he lost the fight. Moreno was doing very well in that fight. And I look at this fight and I'm looking at it. I don't know if it's going to be any different. The big difference that I see between the two, and it's not that Brandon Royval is not a tough dude. He is. Moreno's just a bit of a fucking crazy junkyard dog. He's got that crazy side to him where he just doesn't stop, just keeps coming and puts on a pressure. And the fact that this is in Mexico City, I hope that Royval has been smart enough to acclimate himself and be there for about a month. Because if he hasn't, his lungs are going to be burning after the first round. Burning. And it's going to make a difference in the fight.
The same thing goes for Brandon Moreno, though. I mean, he should have taken himself there as well.
You're right. He should.
And we've seen before in the past from Cain Velasquez, Eddie Alvarez, Gilbert Melendez, when they all went to Mexico
City. People that
City.
are known to have great conditioning and a high pace.
It just killed them. It murdered them. Yeah. And then
it's 7,000 feet.
That's a lot, John.
71.
That's a lot. Like it's not easy. I would spend a lot of fighters do now these days is they would spend a lot of time on the hyperbaric chambers or in the I would use a machine called the Hypoxico. I would use that machine to help with my elevation and my training. Instead of having to go to Big Bear or go to Tahoe or any of those things, I would train.
It gives you less oxygen. As
deprives your body of oxygen, creates more red blood cells, helps build the red blood cells into your muscles, gives you better oxygen count. So then your muscles don't fatigue as much, all of those things. And I was doing that years and years before even the bigger fighters started talking about doing it. Most people went to Big Bear, whereas I just said, I'll stay at home and do this machine. But yeah, and who got me turned on to that was Kyle Kingsbury. Kyle's one of the
Kyle was way out there as far as being ahead of the curve when it came to conditioning and stuff, the things he would do.
Yeah. He was the guy. I think I wish I would have taken a little bit more time and rested my body, because he was the guy that always rests. I'm like, man, you're so lazy. I'm like, dude, I would give him a hard time, but he was always in phenomenal shape. He always pushed himself. He always looked the part. I guess on those rest days, he should have, instead of resting, he should have rested, but he should have done more of an active recovery and fine-tuned a little bit more on the mitts and the pads and that, because that's where he lacked. He was great physically, but he lacked the techniques, whether it was grappling or the kickboxing. He was good.
He was a great athlete,
Absolutely.
But he did lack when it came to that upper echelon of talent, what he could do. When he faced another guy that was super talented, that's where he had problems.
John, this is where I see the difference between Brandon Moreno and Brandon Royval, is that Brandon Moreno has now fought how many countless 5-round title fights, and just understanding like what's at stake and going 5 rounds, being the main event in Mexico City, the altitude, all of these things. He is more prepared. I think mentally he'll be more prepared. Physically, he'll probably be more prepared. Whereas Brandon Royval, sure, they have fought. Sure, Brandon Royval's, I believe, fought 5 rounds before twice now.
He just did. I know,
but twice now.
His last fight.
Well, I'm looking at him. He's been prepared for these type of things, but there's just a different level of comfort of being out there in a 5-round fight against somebody like a Brandon Moreno. And when I see these two guys getting after it, Brandon Moreno is going to be, I think, maybe just a tiny one step ahead of him every single scramble, every single exchange, all of those things. Now, when I say that, this is the opportunity for Brandon Royval to capitalize and just say, look, your time has passed. I know that Brandon Moreno is still young, but your time has passed. It's time for me to make my slide in there and put myself into the top. And that's all he's got to do. I know it's easier said than done, but this is his opportunity, his chance to say, look, the injury, the first fight, and I actually thought that fight was, Brandon Moreno was kind of winning. I had him slightly ahead, I believe, as I recall. Yeah. But Royval was hardly out of the fight.
Oh yeah.
And in this situation of 5 rounds, there's plenty of opportunities for you to create, the momentum to take over the fight at any moment. Rounds 2, rounds 3, rounds 4, whatever it is. And so I think Brandon Royval's got a good shot at getting this win. He's got to sprawl and brawl, keep this thing on the feet. And, if he can get to the top position, I think he'll have success from the top. I don't think he can afford to be from the bottom.
Well, you can sit there and you look at that. It's a great fight, but you could actually look and say that the co-main might end up being a better fight. Mm-hmm. That co-main event it is a rematch also, and one that ended with a shoulder injury, just like the main event. But Yair Rodriguez going against Brian Ortega, that's a great matchup, and one that we saw exactly how it was starting to unfold and everything in the first one, but Brian's shoulder popped as he's pulling out of the submission from Yair. Shit happens, just the way it is in life. But this is a great featherweight matchup in between guys that you could absolutely say are two of the best featherweights out there, both in the top 5.
Yeah,
man. This is setting up for who is going to get a possible match with a guy named Topuria.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Brian Ortega but Yair, here's the one thing. Brian Ortega should have taken a page out of what we were just talking about, and hopefully he spent the first 2 to 3 weeks training over there in Mexico City, because Yair Rodriguez, I believe, lives and trains in Mexico City.
Trouble.
And so when I went back and saw him explode onto the scene, and that same card where Kane lost to Verdum, he was on that card. flying around, backflip this, front kick this. It was all over the place in that fight.
Yep, like it was nothing.
Yeah, like it was nothing. And him having that conditioning, that cardio, and that pace to be able to do that in a 3-round fight, do that against someone like a Brian Ortega, it's going to really, really kind of show if Brian was smart enough to get out there early, 2 to 3 weeks, at least 3 weeks, I would say.
Yep. Because 2 weeks is just touching it. You got to go at least the 3.
Cain Velasquez went out there 2 weeks beforehand. And then Javier was trying to get him out to go out there sooner, and Cain didn't want to leave. No, I'm not leaving. No, I'm not leaving. And I think ultimately that's what cost him the title. In my own mind, that's what cost him the title. Maybe I'm wrong. But it was the fatigue. Brian Ortega on the feet is going to have to get this fight to the ground. He's going to have to. But as I recall in the last fight, it was Yair who took this fight to the ground.
Well, no, you're right. He was. Yeah. And it's Yair is absolutely the more dynamic fighter, all the way around, but Brian, known as T-City, look, his ground game is solid. I mean, and it's, when I talk about solid, I mean that someone that I say is a solid ground fighter means that they can transition from one element to the next, and it's smooth. It's not like you'll see guys transition and they'll transition from the triangle to the armbar and then back to the triangle. And you look at it and it's working to a point, but it's based on power. It's based on strength in trying to grab and they're burning themselves as they're doing it. Brian doesn't do that most of the time. Brian's is just nice and smooth, and he's relaxed as he's doing it. And he could do that to Yair, not taking anything away from Yair's ground game, but it is not at the level of Ortega's. Yeah. Just like I don't think Ortega's stand-up is at the level, especially the kicks, of Yair Rodriguez. Toughness-wise, I got to tell you, I think Yair is tough. I've seen him take some, ass whippings and just continue to move on, but there's no one tougher than Brian Ortega.
Yeah, I agree.
You may be as tough, but you're not tougher.
I agree. I think the calf kicks will get started early and often against Brian Ortega, and that'll kind of be a little bit of a tell sign of whether Brian's going to either try to just chase in on to get the takedowns, or if he can just be stuck on the outside trying to outstrike the kicker. That's going to be a problem. Yeah. The next fight, John.
Daniel Zellhuber against Francisco Prado. Look, this is a fantastic fight. Prado is a damn good fighter, but Zellhuber is special. Daniel Zellhuber is a phenom. He's one of those guys, super nice guy, fights out of Extreme Couture. This kid doesn't even know how good he is. His coaches do, but he doesn't, he has no idea how to let it go and do all the things that he can do in a fight, because at this point he's so young, he doesn't want to make the mistake, and he's good enough to where he can make mistakes and not get caught by them. But I understand exactly why he is the way he is, but this is a fantastic matchup. But I got to tell you, Zellhuber is that kid that he can do it all.
Yeah, we had Eric Nixick on our podcast here a couple times now, but he's been high on him. He's talked about how great he is. And if you guys haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that interview we did with Eric Nixick. Zellhuber is one of the guys that he just continuously says, like, he will be a champion, or at least he will be in that title contention here in a matter of time. Now, Prado is good. He's good on the feet, but needs to get this fight to the ground, whereas Zellhuber, I think, is going to have to keep this fight standing, keep his back off the fence, and utilize his kicks more. He's got length, he's got reach, he's got range. Man. He's got to utilize those kicks.
Look at Luke Rockhold had the best question mark kick of anybody I think I've ever seen, just the way he throw it. There's a couple guys that are close. Well, Zellhuber's one, he's close. He's got a beautiful question mark kick. He hides it so well, and it's coming up, looks like it's a leg, and all of a sudden, whack, over the top. Fantastic.
John, he does have great kicks, and he knows how to use them when he uses them. He just doesn't use them enough. I would like to see him kind of mix in his kick with his boxing, because right now he's very boxing centric. If he adds the kicks a little bit more, whether it's start off with them and then finish with the combination, or start with the hands and finish with the kick, I think it'll open up a lot more of what he's doing. Right now it's one or the other instead of trying to merge them together and making it flow a little bit better. But man, there's a high expectation on him, and I'm excited to see exactly where he starts to develop as he gets a little bit older. He's 14-1. He's fighting Prado, who is 12-1. very evenly matched. Prano's going to have to get this fight to the ground. He doesn't want to be on the outside.
You
He
can't
afford to be on the outside or on the feet with him.
Yep, I agree. Yep, I agree.
Next fight.
Look, this is almost the same thing in a fashion. Raul Rosas Jr. this kid is talented. There's no doubt about it. He's tough. He's got skills. He's going up against Ricky Turcios, and Ricky is one of those guys. He's a gamer. He's going to be there. He's going to be doing all kinds of different techniques, trying. And he's the guy that, if you're going to look and say gritty, tough fighter, I don't know if he has enough skill to match up with Raul Rosas. No.
Rosas Jr., though, is going to have to understand that if he shoots his wad in the first round, if he chases submissions after submissions after submissions, and Turcios is just someone is just, he will escape. He will make it awkward. He will scramble out of things in a very weird position. And Ricky's going to go ahead and try to keep pushing the action, try to make Raul Rosas Jr. use all the energy he possibly can in these exchanges. And will he be the same fighter after round one, after chasing submission after submission, if he doesn't get it? That's kind of, we've seen him falter before in the past. That's his one loss.
Well, and if you're Turcios, that's what you're looking at. I'm gonna make him work. I'm gonna make it to where he gasses. Yeah. It's a great, game plan. If I know the people that are working with Rojas the way I do, look, the one thing they're teaching him how to take a break in the middle of the fight. Yeah. Hey, you don't have to go 100 miles an hour for the 5 minutes. You can go 100 miles an hour for 20 seconds. Then let's back it down to 65. Okay. And then we'll up it a little bit. Then we'll back it down. And that's what he needs to learn. And we'll see if he has. Yeah.
It's just taking a page out of the veterans' books. And when you see and watch them take a step back, take a deep breath. Forrest Griffin used to do that very well. He would take a step back and he'd go, huh! Like he'd almost breathe all of his air out. Yeah. He'd breathe all of his air out.
Yeah.
Then
get that, blow it out and then get that less.
Yeah. And then he'd come back in and then he'd re-enter into the fight. All right, guys. Hey, that's going to do it for our UFC talk. And then now we're going to move on to the PFL. And before we do that, go to onlyfans.com/weighing-in, onlyfans.com/weighing-in. Subscribe to us over there. I'm going to try to do live coverage over there while I'm in Saudi Arabia this week. I got to see if they even allow that website to be accessed. If not, then what I'll do is I'll probably switch it over to my Instagram account, or I may even try to just log into the weighing in account and just try to push it all onto there.
There you go.
That might be something that we do there. So make sure you guys are following at Weighing In or at The Real Punk on Instagram and Twitter. And if you guys can't, subscribe to us over at onlyfans.com/weighing-in. If I can upload all my content onto there, I will, or I'll try to do some live conversations while I'm riding a camel or doing ATV and out in the desert. So it should be some fun. Should be fun. I'll be riding a camel. You know, I heard camels are stubborn, man. They like to spit like Dave.
Dude, not only do they like to spit, they like to bite.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I read a report on them saying they're kind of docile unless they get mad at you. And I'm like,
they get mad at you, dude. They want to bite you.
Yeah, lovely. Just lovely. Get my ass trampled by a fucking 10-foot damn camel. All right, let's go ahead and go to the PFL versus Bellator. It's a champ versus champ. It's going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this Saturday night. It will be on pay-per-view. I believe the prelims will be on ESPN+. There's going to be 4 prelims, and then you also have the main card. The main card has a couple changes to it, though, John.
It does, but let's make one thing clear for everyone. All of these championship matches of champion versus champion, they're not 5 rounds.
Yes.
Because this isn't a championship. They're going to get a belt that says that they're the winner of the battle between the two promotions, but all of these are 3-round fights. So want to make sure that everyone knows that. Doesn't say, what the hell's going on? It's a championship fight. Now, it's a championship fight between the two promotions, but it's not a world title fight as we normally are accustomed.
Well, let's also I'm going to give you a reason on why. So what happened was they got
there's a reason why. Look at all the fights.
Yeah, there's a lot of fights. But on top of that too is is, they were trying to get this in before the tournament series for PFL started because they wanted to have the champions fight champions, which is one. So then there was only about an 8-week period that could get these guys going. No reason to make these guys in a 6 to 8 week period try to train for a 5-round fight. They just come off the holidays for them.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do the 3 rounds. There also will be an unveiling of their title belt, which is going to be just the I don't even know what they're calling it.
I heard it's pretty cool.
Yep, I heard it's got a.
I heard it's got that little added thing that a lot of guys are going to like.
John, I'm just going to say it, buddy.
Go, dude, go.
They actually, because for a lot of period of times, like you see fighters want to carry their belt around. Well, you don't have to now. There's actually a built-in, kind of like a Super Bowl ring that's built into the belt. They can take that ring out and they can wear that around, showing that they're the champion until the following year. So we're going to find out because it's going to be an annual event where the champions fight the champions, and we're going to see how this all works out. I'm excited. I'm excited for this. How come someone didn't
think of that before?
I'm sure someone did, but maybe I can't imagine it's too cost effective, John.
Okay,
I can't
there
imagine.
We go.
So, but look, let's go ahead and start off with the main event, John.
Go with it. We got Renan Ferreira going up against Ryan Bader in the main event. Heavyweight champion of the PFL's last season's tournament against the heavyweight champion of Bellator in Ryan Bader. It's a great matchup. The real question you got to look at and say is, obviously experience and veteran status has got to go with Ryan Bader, but you got to go with youth, size, and size going with Renan Ferreira.
Yeah.
He's huge. And when I say he's huge, a lot of people put numbers out there as far as how tall they are, and if you really measured him, you go, you're 2 inches shorter than that. He's not. He is a absolute 6'8", 6'9". He is a big man, the biggest man that Ryan Bader has ever stepped in the cage with, and this is going to be Ryan Bader at 40 years of age. Now we talked with Ryan, and we talked about facing someone that size and the length that he has and the power that he has in his hands. But Bader knows exactly who he is and where his skill set comes from, and he knows that if he can take the fight to the ground, that he's got a very good chance of winning it, because that is the kryptonite of Ferreira. Ferreira is a guy who wants to be on his feet. Bader can be on his feet, but his wrestling, look, he's got a blast double, second to Brock Lesnar in MMA.
Yeah.
In the heavyweight division, it's he's got a fantastic, and Ryan Bader has not lost at heavyweight for a reason, based upon he is a much faster fighter as a heavyweight than he was as a light heavyweight. That speed difference makes a huge difference in the fight, but all it takes is one to land, and Ferreira can put him out with one shot. But we've seen Bader put people out with one shot, so I think it's a great matchup. Obviously, I think each guy has their, strong suits in this. It depends on who can keep the fight where they want it to be.
Yeah, where I'm looking at this fight, John, this is a little bit of a throwback. You have the stand-up guy versus the wrestler I would say there's some submission threats there by Ryan Bader. The speed, I would say, would normally go to Ryan Bader in the heavyweight division, but not in this case. I think Ferreira is going to be the faster fighter. I think he's going to be the longer fighter. He's going to be I don't want to say more athletic, but he moves very gingerly and light.
Very well for a 6'8" guy. Yeah.
6'8". He is tied.
Moves very well.
He's tied for the tallest champion in the sport of MMA. Yeah, Tim Sylvia and him.
Tim Sylvia?
Him and Tim Sylvia, yes. So I believe they're tied for the tallest fighters that have been champion in the sport of MMA. That being said, Ryan Bader's fought guys like Linton Vassell, Matt Mitrione, and Czech Congo, who are all very tall. Not 6'8", but in that 6'5", 6'6" range.
6'5".
6'5", 6'6" range kind of. But I also look at it too. Czech Congo's got better takedown defense than Renan Ferreira. Matt Mitrione has got just as fast of hands as Renan Ferreira, and maybe even a little bit better. Maybe not as much power, but fast.
Yep, true.
And then I look at what Czech Congo who's got more of the technique and the better takedown defense. Linton Vassell was a lot more dangerous.
Same thing.
Yeah, Linton Vassell got a lot more danger on the ground. He's got good takedown defense. He's not afraid of being off his back because he's got a good hook sweep. He has fought a mixture of all the guys that he needed to fight, Ryan Bader has, to get him past Renan Ferreira. But the thing is, John, I always feel this way is when you come into a new organization Are we going to see the same guy that left the organization he was with? Or are we going to see that feeling out process of like, man, everything feels new. Everything feels a little off. It doesn't feel the same way. Are we going to see the Bellator guys feel a little bit off or fight a little bit off because it doesn't feel like home, and seeing the same faces behind the screens, seeing the all fight week, seeing different people handling, whether it's, handling you, getting you to and from press conferences, meetings, photo shoots, all that stuff. Is there going to be a difference between how they feel showing up there? I mean, as I can see right now, it doesn't look like that. Johnny Eblin's out there having a great time riding camels and ATVing, but he seems like he's just found himself right at home.
That's Johnny.
That
Eblin.
is Johnny Eblin. The one thing that scares me about Ryan Bader is at any moment at 40-something years old, 41, I believe is what he is
no, he's 40. Don't make
okay.
him 41.
It happens.
Come on,
John, it happens so fast. It happens so fast. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it happens so fast.
Yep. Look, we dropped an interview Monday showing, Ryan Bader and his thought process in this fight, the way he's been training, what is making him want this fight and want a fight against Francis Ngannou after it. He wants the big fights. And here's the thing about Ryan. Ryan is not he knows submission. He just doesn't really use submissions. But he does have some of, and I talk about it all the time, ground and pound is an absolute art. It is a technique that some people possess and other people don't. Now, anyone can get on the ground and try to throw a punch, but understanding all the elements of where to put somebody and when you throw those shots and where you put your body and bringing your head up over your opponent's head and all these things, Ryan Bader is a master at it. And so he does have the skill set. If he can get the fight to the ground, he definitely has the skill set to put Ferreira away in this fight. But he's got to get the fight there, and that's not easy because Ferreira's got the absolute skill set to put Ryan Bader away on the feet.
Well, you're watching this fight. If it's on the feet, it favors Renan Ferreira. On the ground,
Absolutely.
It's favoring Ryan Bader. And on the feet,
Absolutely.
It could end fast. It could end in the first round. And on the ground, it could end in the first round. So it really comes down to, like I said when I started, this thing was a throwback fight. Whoever can implement their game plan is going to win this fight. If you see Ryan Bader struggling to get that takedown in the first round, this fight's not going his way. You see Renan Ferreira on his back, and Ryan Bader on top, it's not going his way. Yeah. So if you guys, I don't know if they're going to have live betting odds because we're in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if they're allowed to or what, but I do know that if they do have it and you're watching this and you're seeing it play out, start maybe thinking about placing those bets.
Quickly.
All right.
Quickly.
Let's go ahead and go to the co-main event.
Oh, man. Again, co-main event, we're just talking about the man. We've got Impa Kasanganay going up, actually going down in weight to face the 185 king in Johnny Eblin. And, man, Impa is a guy who a lot of his career, he was at 185. He went up to 205. And I'm going to tell you, Josh, watching Impa at 205, I think he's a better fighter there. I think he's more comfortable. He's strong as hell anyways. He hits hard, but it's the speed factor that at 185, he's not that fast of a fighter. He's okay, but it's average speed compared to someone in Johnny who's actually got fast hands. Johnny transitions from the stand-up into wrestling very well, and he makes it to where people are off balance with when he's going to do something. He has them guessing, and once you're guessing, you're in trouble. Impa, like I said, love the guy. Fantastic season for the PFL, winning that 205-pound title. He went through everyone. You got to figure he actually came from the Challenger Series to do that. Absolutely impressive as hell. He's going to have the fight of his life to beat Johnny Eblin in this.
No, I would agree with you 100%. Look, he's had some success at 185. He's had nothing but success at 205. Him coming back down in weight, the guys that he's had a problem with, though, have been the faster guys. Those are the guys that have given him a hard time. Also, to the guys that he's fought at 185, they're good on the feet. The guys, a couple of them had tendencies to just try to keep it on the feet. So it made it a very almost even fight. then he got clipped or he got hit with some big shots and got put out. In this fight with Johnny Eblen's going to stand a little bit, but he's going to threaten the takedown.
He's going to stand a lot.
He's going to create angles off of his striking into the takedowns. It's going to be very difficult for Impa to be able to keep up with Johnny's pace as well as the activity, how Johnny fights. I've almost felt very similar to this fight as to the Ryan Bader and the Henna-Fajeda fight. Whereas the movement's going to give Ryan Bader some problems of Henna-Fajeda. If he stands directly in front of him, it'd be an easier takedown. But Henna-Fajeda is going to have to stay on his bike, circle and lateral movement quite a bit. A little bit how Ian Gary fought this last weekend. Yeah. It's very similar to that. Long, stay long. Whereas Impa is he generally will lay a little bit on the kicks, but also on the hands. The speed's going to be such a factor. Is Johnny going to be there when he lands or when he throws? Will Johnny circle out? There's so many different ways that Johnny Eblen can win this fight, John.
Well, I think if you go back and you look at Johnny Eblen's career, there's one fight that I can kind of look at it and go, Impa is very similar in some areas to Anatoly Tokov. In the stand-up, they're very similar. They throw things the same way. They have, a basic attack that they go after all the time with their thing. And their wrestling, I got to give Tokov is a way better wrestler than Impa. And look at what Johnny Eblen was able to do to Tokov. And it was, again, it's the pressure. And, that's what Johnny goes through nicknames. Like,
goes through his underwear.
Some guys go through underwear. But, his nickname now is because he does bring a pressure. And it's that pressure that starts to make you fight at a pace that is uncomfortable for you. And eventually it gets to you. And it's the one thing going down in weight. That's a 20-pound drop. Mm-hmm. Now, he had time to do it. But again, you put on all that muscle and all that weight to be in the 205s. And now you're having to lose it to go to 185. I look at it and it's like, man, it's a lot for him. God bless him for taking the fight. I think, I love him as a fighter, but man, I'll tell you what, he's up against it when you're looking at Johnny Eblen. No one has figured out how to beat Johnny yet.
That Tokov fight did remind me that Tokov was having success early in the fight in the first round. And then Johnny started figuring him out. Johnny was struggling with him a little bit. Wasn't like he was losing,
no,
but
I thought he lost the first round.
He did too, but I'm saying it wasn't like he was losing badly. It was just,
it was
he
close.
Just wasn't able to find his way in yet. And then once he was able to start finding his way inside that phone booth and then threatening the takedowns, it was over. I mean, he won a unanimous decision. He was able to just start picking him apart on the feet in the wrestling and making him work in every angle.
Each round got worse.
Yeah, true. But the difference is, though, John, this is only a 3-round fight, so he can't afford to start off slow like he did against Tokov. He's going to have to get started fast to keep this thing going. Now, he can maybe drop the first round. We've seen Johnny start putting the pressure like he did against Fabian Edwards. That first round was a fill-out round. A lot of talking back and forth maybe led to them having a little bit longer of a fill-out round. But he finds ways after the first round to really start getting it going. He's got to make sure he doesn't take too long. Yeah. It's going to be good, though. Next fight.
Ray Cooper III going up against Jason Jackson. This is one of those ones you look at in that, the PFL champion being Magomed Karamov pulled out of the fight, wasn't able to, make it happen. So they pulled up Ray Cooper, who was the prior champion, in the years past. We all know that Ray Cooper's got just bombs in his hands. He's fun to watch. He can be behind in a fight, the entire thing, and then just land one shot and turn it around. But he's going to have a very tough fight against Jason Jackson, and that Jason's got big time reach over him. He's got power in his hands. He's got a beautiful jab. He's got great wrestling. He likes to take the fight to the ground at times. He definitely makes it tough for you to take him down. But if you're going to look at a fight that Ray Cooper is going to say, I kind of like this, he knows Jason Jackson likes to be in the stand-up, so he doesn't have to fear someone trying to take him down all the time, even though he's got good takedown defense. This is one of those ones. It's a catch weight at 182 based upon that Cooper had gone up in weight from 170. So Jason's going to kind of meet him little bit more than halfway there, but this is going to be a fun fight to watch.
I think it's going to be a great fight with Jason Jackson coming from a wrestling background, started off MMA as a wrestler, then just grew into being more of a striker, utilizing his reach, his range, his kicks, his boxing, his jab. He's fantastic on the feet. I wouldn't suggest he stands too long unless he's using that push kick up the middle. Ray Cooper being the shorter fighter, that push kick to the face is going to be there. That thigh kick will be there to take some steam off of Ray Cooper's power. But Ray Cooper's got wrestling as well. 3-time state champ out of Hawaii, someone who can put the grind on you when he needs to. Look, I look at right now, we haven't seen the Ray Cooper since he knocked out Magomed Karamov in the finals.
Yep.
We haven't seen that same guy. And the reason why we haven't seen it, I think it's a lack of motivation. It's like, look, I've won the tournament twice. I beat the guy that you all thought.
What do I have to prove?
Yeah, what else do I need to prove? I'm going to go up to 85.
But this might be it. This might be.
That's what I was trying to get to, is that this is it, though. No, this is it, John. This is what I'm saying. This merging of Bellator PFL, what it does is it ignites those fighters that were just cruising by in the PFL, and ignites
motivation is key.
It ignites the fighters in the Bellator organization. Like, oh, there's all new blood. It's not just the same guys that I'm looking at on the roster every day. I've got a whole other crew of guys that I can go ahead and fight. And so if you're not motivated as a fighter to get in there and mix it up against another organization, then this is not the sport for you, man. You're in the wrong business. And so I'm looking at Jason. He's on a 10 or 11 fight win streak and just did a dismantle.
No.
Let's not. Come on.
He faced a fantastic wrestler in Ed Ruth, and
he should have won that fight.
In that fight, I'm just telling you right now, he won that fight. There's not a doubt he won that fight, but somehow judges gave a split decision to Ed Ruth.
He's still got a 7-fight win streak. That's still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So
damn good.
And look, in his last performance, he looked fantastic. He beat Yaroslav Amosov, who had the best record in MMA, no longer does have the best record in MMA, but he has undefeated record, I should say. But he also trains with Magomed Karamov. And Magomed pulled out of the fight. After this fight was being announced, they pulled out of this fight, and now Ray Cooper slides in. Ray's got to sprawl and brawl, keep this on the feet, not let Jason Jackson sit on the outside and pick him apart. And Jason Jackson's got to be careful of the big shots that Ray Cooper can land on you. He's got to be very careful of that.
I thought Karamov was fighting out of ATT.
Yeah, so is Yaroslav Amosov.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were saying he was training out of the same camp as Jason Jackson.
No.
Who's at Kill Club.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. No, you know those guys were talking.
Oh, God.
It was like,
let's
see. All right, let's go. Next fight.
Bruno Capoloza taking on Vadim Nemkov. Vadim Nemkov going up to heavyweight from being the light heavyweight champion at Bellator. Bruno Capoloza, not the heavyweight champion this year, but in a prior year, he was the PFL's season champion. And I love Bruno Capoloza as far as a fighter. He's fun to watch in the stand-up. He is absolutely a stand-up fighter, and his ground game is okay. It's not real good, but his speed is what makes him special. And this is the difference. He lives off of being the faster fighter, and it really benefits him with his hands, and he's got beautiful stand-up. He's not going to be the faster fighter against Nemkov. They will be the same.
Okay, I'll take that.
I'm not going to say Nemkov is fast. I think Capoloza is fast. But Nemkov coming up, he's going to be just as fast, and that's going to give Capoloza just a little bit of trouble in getting his shots off without getting the counters. And when it comes to the wrestling part and the ground game, there's an absolute giant void between the two in who's better. And Nemkov on the ground, if he puts it on the ground, he will control Capoloza there. It will be tough for Capoloza to get up. So Capoloza's really got to, be sharp with his takedown defense if Vadim decides to go to it. And he needs to be very careful of the high kicks that come up very fast from Nemkov.
Bruno Capoloza's got fast hands. He needs to start throwing a 3 and a 4 behind it. He will sometimes get stuck in this 1-2 rhythm. And he throws his fast kicks. He's got powerful kicks. So Nemkov's going to have to be cautious of those as well. Speed-wise, I would have to say they're equal. I would probably even give Capoloza a slight edge on the speed. Just a tiny, not much. But the power and the kicks,
I think they're about even, but it's
the
close.
power and the kicks, I'm going to go with Capoloza. But he doesn't throw them as often as he possibly could. Vadim's got great kicks. I'm not denying that. I think he's got fantastic kicks. But
his good kicks are above the waist.
Yes, that's exactly where they're at. Whereas Capoloza will do a lot of damage with the leg kicks and the calf kick.
True.
And so when I'm looking at this fight and I'm matching them up, Vadim going up to heavyweight, his first fight at heavyweight, John, will the speed?
How does he do with the weight?
How will he carry the weight up to heavyweight? Did he put it on too fast? Is he just training at the weight he normally walks around in? Like whereas Ryan Bader came up and he didn't try to put more weight on. He just fought at the weight he was at. We've talked to Nemkov. He walks around about 242, 245. He looked a little bit bigger than 242, 245 last time I saw him at the last Bellator event. So I don't know if he's walking at 250, 2 something now. Will that speed still translate? Will his cardio, which is the number one thing, will that translate? We've seen him.
It is the question.
We've seen him before when he fought guys like Yuri Prochaska, where he puts it all out there, but then also gets tired. Now I know it's different circumstances because it's 1 10-minute round and then another 5-minute round.
And also he had 3 professional fights at that point.
Yeah. And so when I'm looking at who he is now, I think he has obviously matured a lot as a fighter. I also look at him. He has done everything he could do at 205. Now going up to heavyweight, seeing that I've already beat Ryan Bader, knowing that I could potentially get another fight there to win the heavyweight title.
Let me ask you one question real quick. Did he not fight Corey Anderson twice?
Yes, he did.
Okay, the second time, did he not prove that cardio is not an issue for him anymore?
No, he did.
Okay.
At 205.
You're going to say, I look at it, you learn how to control and maintain your cardio in a fight. And he's learned that. And you got to give it to him. I'm not saying it is different, but he's going to be now, instead of losing all that weight that he was losing and putting some, weight back on and coming into that cage probably at 228, 229, 230, he's going to walk in at 240 something. But that's his normal, natural weight, and he's not having to lose anything. That's going to help with his cardio also.
I agree. We're going to find out, though. All these questions need to be answered, whether it's how the Bellator fighters react to basically being under a new promotion. How does Vadim act in terms of going up to heavyweight? Does Jason Jackson, does the catch weight affect him? Johnny Eblin not having a weight class to fight in. They're putting this fight together at middleweight, but they don't have a middleweight weight class. Well, where's he going to go? There's so many uncertainties, but hopefully we get a lot of answers after this card in Riyadh.
We do have to say one thing. I know that first off, Patricio Pitbull was supposed to fight Pinedo. Pinedo had to pull out. He got injured in that fight, so that fight's off. But we do have an interview that we're holding on to that's going to come out, I believe, Thursday, Dave?
Correct.
Thursday with Clay Collard, who is one of the the linchpins and the guys that the PFL has put through hell and has absolutely just been fantastic for him. He's facing AJ McKee. I think it's the first fight on the pay-per-view card now. And that is going to be one hell of a matchup. You're talking about both guys are young. Clay Collard has been fighting forever, but he's only 30 years of age. AJ McKee is 28 now, 27, 28. Both of them are just fantastic fighters, tough as hell. Clay is more boxing centric. AJ has come up with the wrestling and his all-around game because of his dad being a MMA fighter. I love this matchup, and it's going to be just an incredible start to the card.
Yeah, we're going to find out if AJ is going to utilize his wrestling because his wrestling is really damn good. We just never see it because he's so good on the feet. He fights so fluidly on the feet, but Clay has pointed out, AJ sometimes will leave himself out of position because he lives off his athleticism and his striking. He'll jump in, jump out. Will that put him in some danger against Clay Collard, who tends to just walk you down, put pressure on you, wait for you to make a mistake and capitalize, rip the body, come back up top to the head.
He attacks that body so well. Come on.
And so I think AJ in the early rounds will probably try to utilize his wrestling a little bit. The submission game, I think I'm going to favor AJ. The wrestling, I'm going to favor AJ. On the feet, I'm going to say it's about equal. I would even maybe favor AJ because of the speech and the reach and the range, but the actual game planning on how he can break these guys, Clay Collard can break these guys up. Well, look what he did to Jeremy Stevens. Look what he did to Anthony Pettis. Look what he does.
Shane
Burgos. He finds ways to beat the guys who seem to be better athletically and better strikers than him, but he finds ways to win.
They think they're better strikers. They're not.
He finds ways to win.
Clay Collard is what, 24-11 as a MMA fighter. He's also got, let's say close to 20 boxing matches. Yeah. Okay. He is a boxer. He's got beautiful footwork. He sets himself up. The angles he creates to attack the body are beautiful. If you are not taking Clay Collard seriously, you are a fool, because this dude will put it on you, and he is mean. I love him as a fighter. Okay. 18 pro fights
in boxing.
Amazing.
Yeah, in boxing.
Guy's amazing.
Yeah, he's got good boxing. Look, and then there's the other fight with the two older guys. You got Yoel Romero versus Thiago Santos, 40 and 47 years old. 46. Look, does Yoel Romero use his wrestling, or does he rely on his granite chin to keep him afloat?
He relies on his granite chin. That's what he does.
And Thiago Santos obviously going to try to sprawl and brawl and let it go on the feet.
How can you not use your wrestling when you have watched every fight that Thiago Santos loses? He's taken to the ground and beat up on the ground. And when Yoel Romero puts people on the ground, he knocks them out. He puts them away. He damages them. God damn it. Yoel, I'm talking to you. Use your wrestling.
I
don't think he will.
Can I say this? John, have you tried to wrestle at 46 years old? It's just not.
No, I don't want to wrestle.
It's so painful. I was just showing techniques the other day on a single leg snatch to the step behind. And man, I walked away. I was like, man, my low back is a little tight. Legs are kind of burning because I got to stay in that wrestling position. I was like, this is not what I recall it being. But like, it's really going to come down to if Thiago Santos is able to keep this on the feet, or Yoel doesn't use his wrestling. Santos, I think, is going to be the faster fighter. Romero's probably got the power to put Santos out too on the feet, but it comes in small spurts. And I think if Santos is smart, which I think he will be, he'll just stay on the outside, just try to pick Romero apart, because he knows Romero's he's not going to do too much until I get in too close a range for him to try to rush and blitz me, and then he'll go back into his shell and take the center of the cage and make me try to pick him apart again from the outside.
Yeah, the one thing that we've definitely got to do is when we're in Riyadh, we got to pull Yoel aside and say 3 rounds.
3 rounds.
It's 3 rounds.
You got to remember
his fight with Phil Davis? He thought it was a 5-round fight. It was only 3 rounds.
The last fight we're going to talk about is Gabriel Braga versus Aaron Pico. And man, this is a great fight.
This is a great fight. Now, Gabriel Braga is a solid fighter. Lost his first fight in his last fight, and that was against Pinedo. And look, he has been fantastic. Unfortunately, he had a tragedy occur recently where he lost his father. And I really wonder, is that going to be an inspiration to him, or is it going to end up, his dad not being there? That's tough.
Yeah.
When you're used to that person being there and being in the corner and stuff, it can have an effect on your overall performance. And he's going up against a guy in Aaron Pico right now. Like, if Aaron Pico doesn't get injured, stand by. He is a nightmare for everybody at 145. The dude can wrestle with anybody. He's got the best damn takedowns in that 145 division that you'll find. And his hands are heavy. He throws beautiful shots. Yeah, he can be touched on the chin, but he hasn't been touched on the chin in a long time because he's taken the time to do things right. He isn't making the mistakes he made in the past. This is a future champion.
John, I fought 10 days after my dad passed, and some fighters, for me, I looked at it as just getting back on the horse and moving on with your life. Now, you guys can say it's very impersonal or whatever it is. It's like no emotion involved.
Everyone's different.
It's just everyone is different. And
right.
And for my dad and I, like, he very rarely came to wrestling matches because he was working. He very rarely came to fights because he was working. And when he did make fights, it was always awesome to have him there. But I was relatively young in my career when he passed So it was even before I got to the UFC. And so it just was one of those moments. It wasn't before I got to the UFC, but it was just one of those moments before I won my world title. It was those moments of this is what I did. We talked through the phone, we talk, in conversation with Braga, having him there, getting through this and pushing through. It's something that is there that it just feels normal. Like my dad would want me to do this. My dad wouldn't want me to soak and sulk and just sit there on the sideline and let my life just tick away. He would want me to stay the course. And I think in this scenario, in this situation, it's like, this is what he was set out to do. And the focus is still the same, is to go out there and win, make a life for yourself, make as much money as you can, take care of your family, take care of your loved ones. Nothing can change, and as well as I know that you're celebrating the life you had with them. You're not mourning the loss of them. And I take that very seriously when I talk about when fighters lose their mother, lose their father. You've got to look at all the great moments you have with them. And I think that it seems like that's what he's doing. Seems like he's pressing forward, and he's like, look, I got to stay the course. This is what we've worked so hard to get here. And this is a moment you can't take. Maybe I'm being selfish. You can't take yourself out of one of the biggest, if not the biggest, show that the PFL and Bellator could have possibly put together. You can't take yourself out of there. You're one of the guys that they wanted to put on there to build you, to do whatever. You have an opportunity to beat someone that there's a lot of hype around in Aaron Pico. If you can do that, you set the standard for what is next. You can start to call the shots on what is next. I think he sees the big picture. So I wish him nothing but the best, man. I've been through it. I understand. And it's hard going into the fight, but there's gold on the other side, I guess. That's all I can say. There's something there on the other side for you. So, and Aaron Pico, like you said, he's a wreck. He's a force to be reckoned with, man. He really is.
Oh, yeah.
Stays healthy and just gets after it. But man, this guy's good. He can wrestle. He can strike. He's got good boxing. He's starting to utilize his kicks and his jiu-jitsu and his
submission
grappling
game is now
it's
good.
It's getting good. So we're going to see, man. I'm looking forward to that fight. To me, that has a potential being one of the best fights of the night on the card.
So for everyone out there listening, that card is from Saudi Arabia. So the actual fights will start somewhere around 12 o'clock Eastern, 12 noon Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific. And the main card goes off, I believe, at 3 o'clock Eastern and 12 noon Pacific. So you have an early day of fights.
Knock them out, man. Get them all out of the way. Let's go. Let's go. It is a pay-per-view event.
Then you can watch Bellator PFL in the morning, but watch the UFC at night. What a day.
Before we leave you guys, go to WeighingInMerch.com, pick up some of our hoodies and sweaters. It is almost t-shirt season, so I'm looking forward to you guys rocking the t-shirts for us. Go to WeighingInMerch.com, pick up some of your shirts. Pick up some of our shirts, and John, take us away.
Hey, for everyone out there, I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. Watch the fights on Saturday. All day is fight day for Saturday. Watch the PFL versus Bellator early, and then watch the UFC from Mexico coming at you later on. I hope you do. Take care.